Pay It Forward Sports presents the premier men's hockey tournament of the year, the second annual Kings of 4-on-4 Provincial Championships. Join us April 14th to 16th in Ottawa and April 21st to 23rd in Toronto to win the best prizes anywhere in Canada. The winning team wins a trip to beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Other prizes being given away include a trip for two to the Dominican, a second Las Vegas trip for team captains, team trips to NHL games, and so much more. Help support underprivileged kids and become the Pay It Forward Sports Provincial Champions and the Kings of 4-on-4. For more information on how to register, visit payitforwardsports.ca. Hey guys, welcome to the episode of the Battle of Ontario podcast. I am your host, Brendan Fleming, and today I am joined by a different co-host. It is not our regular co-host, Mr. El Presidente Jeffrey Broekey. There is a story to why he's not here, but today we have on the Sheriff, former NHLer, the man with the most pro fights in a pro hockey career, and a host of the Sheriff podcast. We have on Sean the Sheriff McMorrow. Sean, thanks for joining us today, buddy. I'm pumped to talk hockey with you today.
Well, I'm absolutely ecstatic to be here, buddy. Like, I love this type of thing. I love the things that you guys got going on. I'm so happy to be a part of future things, which I'm sure we'll get into. And yeah, man, I'm just happy to be here, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. So for everyone that comes in looking for Broeky, there is a story to why he's not here. As I'm sure Sean knows and all the Boo Club members know, the Senators lost by a touchdown last night to Colorado. They lost 7-0. So when Jeff saw that, he refused to come on the show today. He was so upset by another horrible Sens performance. He said, that's it. I need to take a break. So I upgraded. I traded in my 5'7" co-host for a 6'9" co-host, and I couldn't be happier. I'm really pumped to talk hockey with you because I watch your show, and I hear you talk a lot about with your guests about their lives and things like that, but I don't get your insight on hockey. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on a few things for sure.
Yeah, definitely, buddy. I'm all fired up and ready to go. And like, there's been a lot of cool things that have been happening lately. So I can't wait to get this started.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get started here, I just wanted to pump our sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored by Brad Warner, real estate agent with Royal LePage Pro Alliance Realty. For any of your real estate transactions upcoming, give Brad Warner a corner. He's reliable, professional, and one of the best guys we know. Get Warner in your corner. And then the next thing, so Sheriff, we're going to be launching this Tuesday, but we are officially launching the Pay It Forward Sports Kings of 4-on-4 Provincial Championships. It's the biggest men's hockey tournament of the year, April 14th to 16th in Ottawa, April 21st to 23rd in Toronto. The winners play off after those two tournaments to determine who's the Kings of 4-on-4, and they win a trip to Vegas. All games will be live streamed on the Pay It Forward Sports Network, and the Sheriff will be there doing interviews for the players post-game. So we're pumped to have you down for that too, buddy.
Yeah, man. I mean, just hearing you talk about it is like it gives me the shivers right here. Like I can already see the goosebumps. But yeah, like I'm really looking forward to that, man. Especially the fact that it's 4-on-4. I mean, I've always believed that 4-on-4 is just more action packed than 5-on-5, brother. And like it's going to be wicked. I can't wait, man.
Yeah, for sure. So we're pumped to have you there too. So let's get into the show today, Sean. So at first, I want to talk about my Maple Leafs. Are you a Leafs fan? Because you're from Toronto. I assume you're a Leafs boy, right?
I am a Leafs fan. It is frustrating, but I am.
Yeah, it is a frustrating ride for sure. But last night, the Leafs played one of their biggest rivals, the Boston Bruins. They lost the game 4-3. I thought it was a great game, though. Just a turnover at the end of the game by Tavares really cost them. But a few things I want to touch on to start is, one, Austin Matthews coming back from injury. He looks okay. The wrist looks okay. He batted that puck out of the air, goes down. Marner forced a turnover, and he has one of, maybe not the best goal of the year, but one of the top maybe 10 goals of the year when he goes roof on all marks. So I was pumped to see that goal. Glad to see Matthews back and back to himself. But what'd you think of that goal and what'd you think of the game, Sean?
Well, the thing is with Austin Matthews, Brendan, is that the guy is so talented that he'll even have a night where maybe he's not even that noticed, but then you'll see, like in that last goal, that he just pulls the magician out of the hat and boom, he scores, right? So, but that's the thing of that Toronto has. That's the assets that they have. They actually have 4 of those guys. They got 4 big guns like that, and that's why there's always so much pressure on these guys to win in the playoffs. But they will this year, Brendan. They will this year.
So you're predicting a Leafs playoff win first round, because I am on the record. I've said the Leafs are getting out of the first round this year. I've said it 7 years in a row, but I mean it this year. I'm telling you, I mean it for real.
Dude, honestly, It has to be better than that, though. They have to get at least to the conference final this year. They got the team to win it. If they could just maybe keep Doug Sims, aka Wayne Simmonds, in the lineup, if they can play a little bit more well-rounded game. Obviously, they're top heavy with the offense, but man, they got all the pieces, man. And I think they showed a lot about that last night.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. And I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to say they got to make it to at least the Cup Finals. Like just with the way everything's set up for them, right? Matthews a UFA after next season. Marner's coming up the year after. I think Nylander's a UFA too. So I mean, so many moving pieces. Dubas doesn't have a contract. I don't think Keefe has a contract after next season. So there's just so many things that can happen in Toronto. Such a big market, and you got to be feeling the pressure in that market. I mean, it's just 24/7 Leafs. Everything, we're 3 hours away from it. All we do is talk about the Leafs. So, I mean, pressure galore. I think they got to make it to the Cup Finals, or I really think Dubas is in trouble. I'm on the record saying I think Dubas is a great GM. I probably would have canned him last year because I want to see some results, and that's just kind of the way the business works for me.
Yeah, time is definitely running out. And I mean, we've had excitement every year. Like it's been great, but then it's just been the disappointment at the end, right? But what at the end is what we need now. We've supported this team for a long time. This core group has had their time to prove themselves now. And I think it's do or die, man. I think they're gonna clean house. Like if it's not like a conference or a Stanley Cup final. So I think that they can do it. I don't think we're going to see a lot of changes. I think this core is going to be together for a long time. And as a Leaf fan deep down, as a childhood Toronto boy Leaf fan, I really hope they pull it off, man.
Oh, 100%, man. I 100% agree. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So one thing I did want to get your thoughts on, though. So is your boy, Wayne Simmonds. He had a big scrap last night with Nick Foligno, former Maple Leaf. What'd you think of the fight? And this was Simmons' first fight of the season. What's it like for a guy like that plays that role? Obviously he's not just a pure heavyweight that only fights, but I mean, what is it like for that? Because I'm sure guys keep turning him down. He wants to make an impact when he gets in, and Foligno finally obliged him. So what'd you think of the fight? And like, what will be going through his head there in his first fight of the year in a Saturday night game, a Toronto boy too, right?
Yes. So I got a couple things to say on this. Now, first of all, what Wayne Simmonds did last night was extremely difficult for a player to do. And I'll tell you a couple reasons why. Now, one, not being in the lineup, that's the biggest reason. So you're rusty as hell. Now, what the performance that Wayne put on in that fight, being his first fight of the season, and ladies and gentlemen, you can't practice like that in practice. There's no preparation, right? So this is all Wayne's passion. This is all adrenaline. I mean, he was switching it up. He was throwing haymakers even when it looked like Foligno looked like he might be coming back and getting the upper hand. Wayne would throw a haymaker left, putting it all on the line. And to be that seasoned when you haven't been seasoned, I was so impressed by Wayne Simmonds last night. And I hope that was good enough to earn him a spot in the next game.
I think so too. I mean, you got to have that presence in. And I haven't been the biggest fan of the way Simmonds has played the last couple of years. I just feel like he's a guy that almost should fight more. Like people say he's a middleweight. Man, in today's NHL, Wayne Simmonds is a top 10 heavyweight in the whole league. Like I think, he's got to want it. He's kind of got to be the dog a little bit more and go in there and look forward a little bit. But I mean, yeah, after performances like that, and I said this last year too, after he fought Zach McEwen, I think in Philadelphia, he really put the beat down on him. And I'm thinking, a hungry Wayne Simmonds is a dangerous Wayne Simmonds, and that's a guy I'd want in my lineup over so many guys like Kerfoot, Engvall, guys like that. I would take the Wayne train 100% over guys like that if he's going to come out with that kind of passion. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. When I first saw the fight, my first thought was that it wasn't this season. That they were just showing like a fight from another year, and then I'm just like, whoa! But the team that Foligno's on, I'm like, it's got to be the fight, the game last night. So I was so impressed, man. I couldn't believe it. So like, hats off to Wayne, and like I said, I hope he earns a spot in the next game in the lineup.
For sure. So I mean, as a guy that dropped the gloves yourself, have you ever been 4 or 5 months without a fight in the season, kind of thing, or I guess 2 or 3 months, kind of thing? Did you ever have a big stretch where no one would go the sheriff, or what?
Well, I did have a big stretch, Brendan, but what it was when I was playing for the Chicago Wolves and I was having problems getting into the lineup. And they have so much money on that team that they didn't mind carrying some extra veterans. But the reality is that it was Christmas time and I still wasn't in the lineup. But to be honest with you, that was actually the season that I left my first time to go to that notorious league in Quebec, the LNAH.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it had been Brendan. Probably it had been September, October, November, December. I went to the LNAH, had my first fight against Brandon Sugden. It had been 4 months, and I'm telling you, man, I was so rusty that I definitely did not put on a show like Wayne Simmonds did last night.
Fuck, Sean, you couldn't pick a tough guy for your first fight back, or what? Sugden? Like, come on.
Yeah, well, hey, in that league, you got no choice, man. The ones are fighting the ones, the twos are fighting the twos. It's crazy how it works over there.
Yeah, I've told so many guys that story now. How they call you the numero un, the number one, right?
Yeah.
I just love how that league's kind of set up. The numero un, I love that. That's what one of my favorite nicknames now.
Yes, buddy. I'm
So
telling you.
one last question I wanted to ask about the Leafs, and I thought of this kind of as we were talking, but their first round opponent, it looks like it's going to be Tampa Bay. If something happens, who would you choose? Would you want Tampa Bay or would you want Boston if you're the Leafs?
Oh man, I mean that those are the two teams, right? Like those are the two teams that have been the storyline for the Leafs like over the past little while. And I'll tell you what, like I mean, I want to say Boston. I want to say Boston because Boston's really gotten Toronto's number coming back from the 3-0 and like or the 3-1, like all this kind of stuff, right? So you'd think like if this is going to be a year that our buds are going to do it, we got to go through Boston. We might as well hit them out in the first round. Tampa, we can maybe get them after that, right?
Yeah, that's really pick your poison. I mean, three of the top, probably five teams in the NHL in that division. And I know people complain about the playoff format, but I love it this way. It kind of reminds me of like old school OHL, like back in the day where, I'm a Belleville fan. So Belleville had to get through Kingston. You had to get through Ottawa before you went and played teams like London and
Yeah.
Sudbury, right? So I don't know. I like that. I think it promotes the rivalry. I wish the teams in the NHL would I wish you played in your division more than 3 or 4 times though. That's my only thing. But if you want to build the rivalry through the playoffs, you got to play them 6, 7 times in the regular season, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
That's
I was actually surprised that they didn't keep like the Canadian division together and all that kind of stuff, right? Like I was
awesome. Hey,
surprised,
yeah,
you know?
it was awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, Kind of transition off the Leafs here, and let's kind of go into maybe one of the most surprising teams of the year, Sean. I'm talking about the Seattle Kraken. They, I don't know if you heard this, but they broke a record last night. They have won their 8th game in a row, and they swept a 7-game road trip. How hard, as a guy who played in the NHL, played pro hockey, how hard is it to go on the road and win it all, but let alone win 7 in a row? And last night, I think they beat Chicago 8-5. Some crazy stats in that game that I'll throw to you next. But what are your thoughts on the Kraken right now? Are they for real, or what do you see happening with them?
I mean, I think they're absolutely for real. And one thing is just this point that we're making up right now, like this, us commenting on the 7-game streak on the road. I'll tell you one thing, Brendan. On the road is when you really prove if you're a good team or not, if you're a championship team. A lot of teams can win at home because a lot of teams have really cool home arenas and, it's really uncomfortable for the away team and they just get good records like that. On the road is where you prove the pudding in your team. So 7 games in a row. I mean, just the area of where this new NHL team has gone, that area of the US, like I was born in Vancouver. I know a lot about the Seattle area and it is a hockey stronghold, Brendan. And I think that like
Really?
I think the attendance is up in the upper echelon in the rankings for the NHL as well.
Yeah, no, they have a great attendance, and man, they're getting contributions from everyone in their lineup. Adam Larson's a guy there. He's playing like a number one defenseman. I think he was traded for Taylor Hall back in the day, 1-for-1, and one of the biggest hockey trades we've seen. But Matty Beniers, a young guy coming in, he's lighting up, playing first line center. Jordan Eberle, Jordan McCann, they got Wenberg there. Yanni Gord, I think you played a little bit. So I mean, they're getting contributions from everyone, and I really like that team. But the big stat that sticks out for me for them is Martin Jones, kind of a reclamation project in goal. He has 21 wins this year, 21-5 with a 2.7 goals against average. Hey, to win 7 in a row, you got to be getting goaltending. So Seattle's on fire right now, and I kind of love what they're putting together. That's a sneaky team that I wouldn't want to play in the playoffs. I'll be straight with you on that.
It's a very sneaky team, and just to add to all these points, I mean, when I had first heard about the ice time that Shane Wright was getting with Seattle, right? Like when I first started hearing that he was getting like really ridiculous amounts of minutes, like in a bad way, like he just wasn't playing. But the team is so strong that's a key reason why. Like you could take half the league where he might have gotten twice, three times the amount of ice time, right? But like this team is rocking, and like there was just no room for the kid. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that he went back to junior. Seattle's a very strong team. I think they need to add more veterans, and I think it would have happened sooner or later that he would have got sent down, because it looks like they might be taking a run at it, man.
Yeah, for sure they're taking around. I mean, for a guy like Shane Wright, who's already missed a COVID year, I mean, you got to have him playing hockey, and it's good for him to go have a run. I know. So Kingston traded him. Our boy Corey Cooper, we had him on the podcast maybe about a couple weeks before the World Juniors, and he kind of let us know off the air that it was probably going to end up being Windsor or London kind of thing. So he did end up going to Windsor. Wish we could have broke that one maybe for a few more subscribers, right? But anyway, I'm glad he's going to go get a chance to make a run. I didn't really love his game at the World Junior, to be honest. I thought he looked like a touch slow. So I think getting out there, that's what he needs right now. He needs to get out there, and he needs to play every day. He needs to be on the power play. He needs to put up points and just get back into the flow of things. Like, it's got to be hard playing 4 or 5 minutes a night, especially when you're a guy like him who's used to, being the number one dog, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I couldn't imagine how mentally tough that was on the kid. So, getting this gold medal, being the big dog, getting traded, like I think going to a successful team that I think has a really good coaching staff, and like I think he's going to do really well, man. Like I saw some stuff on social media that there was like a nice photo shoot for his first practice in Windsor, and he was taking some. He looked really happy. He looked really proud. And I think he's going to do really well.
Yeah, I agree. I think Windsor's going to make a run with him. He's if not the best player in junior hockey, he's top 2 or 3. I mean, I know Bedard's got all the hype on him right now, who is just nasty as anything. But let's move on to another Canadian team here. So the Edmonton Oilers with a huge win last night over the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who are first in the Western Conference right now. So the Oilers look like they're getting back on track. They were struggling there a bit when Jack Campbell was down. Campbell seems to be turning around a little bit, which is big for the Oilers, but big win last night for the Oilers. And as we call him on the show, McJesus comes in again, has a huge night, Draisaitl with a couple goals. What are your thoughts been so far on the Oilers this year, Sean? Do you think they're, are they contenders still, or do you think they're maybe pretenders at this point?
I think they're still contenders, but one person that I really want to point out is Mr. Nugent Hopkins. Okay.
Yeah.
So now this gentleman currently number 8 in scoring. Okay. The only now this is a good stat here, and this is just all things that I've gotten. The only Canadian that's ahead of him is McJesus. Is McDavid.
Wild.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's like I think he's on pace for about 100 points. I think I read like 98, 99 points. He's on pace for. He's never surpassed, I think, 68. This is a guy that I think is going to be the difference, man, because I think that's what they needed. They needed their third guy. Evander Kane looked like he was going to be that guy, but the more the merrier.
3 guys in the top 10 in scoring right now. McDavid's first, Draisaitl second, and like you said, I think we got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins coming in there at 8 or 9, and a guy that signed on such a good deal too, Sean. $5.1 million, I think, for the next 5 or 6 years. So They got a lot of value on that contract for a top 10 scorer in the league. And look, the thing about the NHL playoffs, and especially when there's no doubt about it, any playoff series the Oilers go in, they have the best player in the world, maybe the top 2 best players in the series. You just got to get into the tournament, man. When you're the Oilers and you got players like that, get into the tournament, even if you finish 8th. Las Vegas will be shitting their pants round 1 to come up against the Oilers. The Oilers are a scary team to play. They're missing a few defensemen, but I mean, at the end of the day, you do not want to play Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in a playoff series. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I can guarantee you one thing in life. A goaltender does not want to. right? And if
Yeah.
you're the goaltender against the Edmonton Oilers, you're in big trouble. And like you said, it's just getting into the dance, man. Anything can happen. And when
Yeah.
you got the two top guys, when Evander comes back, Nugent Hopkins, the way that he's playing, I mean, throw Nurse in there. You have five guys on the ice that are phenomenal hockey players, probably the two top in the world. So, like,
Yeah.
Edmonton is dangerous, man. They're probably the most dangerous team you could get.
Yeah, for sure. So the top six of McDavid, Kane, Zach Hyman, Draisaitl,
I
Nugent
didn't even think
Hopkins,
about
and
Hyman.
like, yeah, Hyman's unreal. I'm a huge Hyman fan. So, I mean, McDavid right now, he's playing with, I think, Dylan Holloway and Derek Ryan on the top line. So when Evander Kane comes back, man, that team's making a run. He's such a big cog in that team, and just he adds, a little more toughness than Hyman, but they're built for the playoffs with those two big wingers and a guy like Draisaitl down the middle and Nugent Hopkins. They can have depth at center. They can go any way, right? They can give you the 1-2-3 at center. They can go McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins. They can move the Hopkins up to the wing, but I mean, yeah, not looking forward to playing them. And in my opinion, I would probably want to play them the least in the whole Western Conference. I'd not be looking forward to it.
I just
And I
wanted to
think they
add one
broke
more
Jacob
thing
Markham
about.
last year too.
Oh yes, oh yes. I just wanted to add one more thing about Hyman. There was that viral video, Brendan, that came out. I don't know if it was last week, right, where Drysdale's taking the face off. Hyman's on the wing. Now Hyman, I think, had earlier in the game had taken a run at LA's young boy, Byfield, I think, or someone like that. So the gentleman on the LA Kings was just kind of sticking up for the rookie or the second year guy, and challenged Hyman. So Hyman tells Drysdale, "Hey, I'm going to go here." And so here's my question to you. What I think Drysdale said was, "Man, don't worry about it. You don't have to." Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Hyman's reaction was, "No, it's okay. I got this."
Yeah, he said, "I got this." Right? I loved it. And because Hyman was a Leaf, and he may have fought, if he played for at least 5 years, he might have fought 2 or 3 times. And they were, you could tell he wasn't scared to do it. He would throw, like he wasn't a guy who would hang on. But I mean, just the look on his face. So he's fighting Toronto boy Sean Dursey. And I don't even remember earlier in the year. Yeah, so he was fighting Sean Dursey. I don't even remember this, but earlier in the year, Dursey came to Toronto for the first time, and the Leafs traded him in the Jake Muzzin trade. That was the game where the Leafs blew the doors off LA. I think it was 5-0. Dursey got slashed in the head by Pierre Engvall, and he got booed pretty much the whole night. I think they said he spent like $150K on tickets. So I don't know what night was worse, that night in Toronto where he gets slashed in the head after spending $150K, or going Hyman. So I mean, but to answer your question, I love the Hyman thing. I love the looks like, I got it. Don't worry about it, because he looks as I'm going to go him. And Drysdale, are you sure? You don't got it. Yeah, I'm good. I love it, and I love the energy it brings as a professional hockey player. What kind of energy does it bring when a guy that doesn't fight very much steps up and has a good spirited tilt like that?
Oh, no, I love it when this comes up in conversations because, okay, it doesn't matter if you're on the ice or on the bench. When you see a guy where his main role is not to do something and he's doing it, every single guy on that team gets a lift. Everybody has a good feeling because you get this feeling of unity because the guy's on your team and he's doing something extra that's out of his character. So it's almost like a compliment to every player on that team, and it's a big boost for the team.
Yeah, for sure. I love it when, the middleweights or the lightweights, you call them, go. I don't know. I'm sure you missed this too, but I am an old school guy. I miss fighting in hockey. And I was talking to my old man about this today, is I think eventually it will come back. Everyone says, you're going skill, but at some point it's going to take a turn where, just a light heavyweight's going to be able to come through and run roughshod through the whole league. And you know how GMs are. It's a copycat league. A few things are going to happen. And then all of a sudden, we want 6'2", 6'3" guys back in the league, right? So everything goes in cycles. I know we're all speed and skill right now, but at some point there's going to come a time where I think that role, maybe not the pure enforcer role, but we're going to have some big boys back in hockey. And I think it's going to become the next, 5-10 years. And I can't wait because I love back in the day. I love watching old OHL fights, especially on YouTube back in the day, like with you, Erskine, Tip Brennan's another guy. Like, man, those were the days, eh?
Those were the days, man. And like I think it's all gonna come down to, Brendan, is good planning and trying to make things as safe as possible. And it is able to be controlled. I think that it's just gonna take some new minds to come in. Like, I mean, I'm definitely not gonna say Gary Bettman's gotta go, because then I probably will never get a job in hockey. But like, if there was a little bit of change, then maybe it could be easier said than done. You know what I mean? It's just right now, everything that's set, those people are happy with the status quo. So, maybe there will be someone that will be hired as an NHL, like, because the attendances in the States are really hurting in a lot of parts in the country. So they're going to have to come up with a way to market this game a little bit better. And the rules have been changed before, Brendan. So why wouldn't they be able to be changed or tweaked a little bit again? Right? So
For sure, the
yeah,
rules
man, I'm
change
looking
almost
forward
every
to
year.
it.
The rules change, man. So
Yeah.
if you were to come in and have to make it safer, like what do you have any suggestions? I'm sure you have a few thoughts on the matter. Like, what could
Yeah.
they do to make fighting safer while maintaining the entertainment value? Because fighting's one of the most, hey, sex and fighting, right? People love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
People. I remember as like a kid just being like bloodthirsty, just going to old OHL games to watch fight. Anytime you go to hockey back in the day, if there was more than a 3-goal lead with 5 or 6 minutes left, it was going to be like a football or basketball game. That last 5 minutes is taking half an hour because there's some fights going down. So I miss it. What do you think they could do to make it safer, though?
Okay, I'll tell you a couple things. Now, when I talk to fellow peers of mine that had to play the role during the game, and we try to go over a couple things, and one point that I really like to make is that when you play on a professional team, there's a lot of coaches on that team. There's a face-off coach, there's a power play coach, there's a video coach, there's a strength and conditioning coach, there's a goalie coach. There's all these coaches, but there's no coaches for the tough guys. There's no
Yeah.
coaches for the guys that are willing to put their bodies on the line, and it really makes no sense. So to make it safer, what would be wrong with having a coach? You don't have to call him the tough guy coach or the fighter coach. You could call him any type of coach. You can just keep him as the strength coach title, right? But he's a guy that's knowledgeable in this area, knows when the guys are hurt or not, can teach the guys how to make a proper fist so they don't break their hands, can teach the guys how to fall properly when they're going down so they don't bang their heads on the ice. There's a lot of things that could be done, Brendan, but what's happened in the past is, when there used to be one or two guys on each team, pretty much what it was is, okay, so these guys are tough enough guys that they'll fight 15, 20, 25 games, 25 times a year. They'll be able to get through it, and we'll sign them for this much. There was no care for the guys, where, you know what I mean, if you were an offensive player and on the power play, you had special coaching and all power play coaches and video coaches and
Yeah.
and all this and X's and O's, but the tough guys were just left for the wolves. Oh, you guys are tough, so you're just going to go in the lineup and fight. No one's going to ask you if you're all right or anything, and you're just going to do it again and again and again, right? So
Yeah.
there's ways to make it safe. We don't have to hide it anymore. Like, we could say this is part of our game, but we have two medical people on each team that are monitoring the guys that do that. We could even have gloves, Brendan, that guys could use, that we use in ice wars. Right?
Yeah.
That could be part of your equipment, where if you're going to fight, I mean, how long would it really take you? It's like rolling up your elbow pad. Maybe the NHL puts insurance on all the fights, where if a player fights more than 5 times, they qualify for a special type of insurance because they're putting their body on the line more than their teammate. There's a lot of things that we could do, man. And I think that just new people with new ideas can make the game better. And man, could you imagine if all the players were insured and they kind of promoted a little bit, like around the tough guys, like how they do in Quebec, and could, like, and all these characters came back, and how awesome hockey would be. It'd be bigger than the NFL in the States, Brendan.
What's funny is that when anyone that doesn't watch, especially Americans that I talk to, like anyone that doesn't watch hockey, but they watch like football or MMA, UFC kind of thing, and they see a hockey fight and they're like, man, these guys fight on skates. Like, they're crazy. Like, they're
crazy.
They're surely kicked out of the game. They don't get kicked out of the game. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, it's embarrassing to me that, let's say Connor McDavid, he probably makes less than the 13th man on the Toronto Raptors right now. There's got to be a way to bring more money and more fans into the game, and that is definitely one of them. They've got to promote. Look, you're appealing to men. Let's be serious. I mean, 85% of the fans are probably men. Men like that sort of thing. We're rough and tumble kind of thing. There's got to be a way to, maybe not promote it, but just get it involved in the game more because people love it. Hey, when you go to a game and there's a fight, everyone stands up right away, almost just like a goal, right? So it's a big moment in a hockey game. It brings the emotion out of the teams, the fans. I think they need it, man. I watched some Leafs games, and there's obviously not a lot of Leafs fights in Leafs games, and it's missing something some nights. Some nights I almost like, I'm going to watch, but, this isn't what I really want it to be kind of thing, right? So, I mean, I do think they could do a lot more, and I love your suggestions, and I think, I know Gary Bettman listens from time to time, so Gary, maybe get the sheriff on board here, NHL Department of Safety or a new Department of Fighting, and let's get something going. Let's promote the scraps a little bit more and bring some entertainment back into the league.
Yeah, let's promote it more, but let's get the players properly insured. Let's get them. Let's have coaches that monitor the guys that do get fighting, like 5 minutes for fighting, that get the fighting majors, and let's make it more safe. But let's try to be the number one sport in North America. Let's try to get close to the other sports in the Big Four, because we're nowhere close, Brett. And you're right. Like my brother, he's a professional basketball player. We talk about this all the time. How uneven the pay is. Like, that the top basketball players are making between $40 and $50 million a year. You know what I'm saying?
Man, like guys can't get a contract for 8 years worth that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I agree. There's got to be a way to bring more money into the league. The players deserve to be paid. They are the best athletes in the world. Oh yeah. Hockey is one of the hardest sports in the world. I mean, I get they don't make as much money as baseball players, let's say, because, it just brings in more money. There's no way, and I am a huge baseball fan. I played baseball my whole life. I love it. Hockey is 10 times more entertaining to watch than baseball, and that's just a fact. The reason we can't appeal to the Americans a little bit more, we got to get them. You got to do somehow, and if it takes that, that's what you got to do. One question I wanted to ask you, though, this came and I thought, so I usually like to ask the fighters we have on this, and I didn't get to ask you last time, so this is a fighting question towards you. So 2-part question. Any guys that were kind of maybe in the heavyweight division, were there any guys where you would go to the ring thinking, oh, I'm going to have a tough time with this guy tonight, but he was a little lower than you in the rankings, and vice versa? Was there a guy that maybe, a spot or two ahead of you in the rankings that you just kind of had his numbers? We know styles make fights. So was there a couple guys like that for you that you can think of?
Well, okay. So like, while you're saying that, the first thing that's coming into my mind is just how difficult it was if you were the tough guy for the Rochester Americans to come into the Syracuse Crunch Arena, okay? So now, Brandon Sugden, he was the guy that was there my second, third, and fourth year. But my first year, a gentleman, God bless his soul, he's no longer with us, by the name of Trevor Ettinger. 6'5", 225, through lefts, through rights. Even though I did well against him, Brendan, I could never get my game plan. I could never get him, man. He was one guy that I could just never get. So I know I'm not answering your question through and through, but I just, man, Trevor Ettinger, man. People get the listeners got to look this guy up. This guy came from the Quebec Major Junior League. Man, he unfortunately ended his own life, but he played a year in Syracuse before that happened. And man, he was so tough. I believe he would have played in the NHL if he improved the skating a little bit. This was my first year pro, so he was only a couple years older than me, early 20s. Trevor Ettinger, that's my answer, buddy.
Trevor Ettinger, I'm going to look up some fights from him tonight. I love that. So, I know we're running short on time. Last topic I want to get into here is the Ottawa Senators. As we said at the start, Broeky, El Presidente, did not come on the show today because he couldn't get over the 7-0 loss to Colorado. So what's going on in Senators land here, buddy? I know you probably didn't tune in last week. You do sometimes, but not last week. But I wrote the Sens off last week. I said, they're done. Stick a fork in them. There's no way they're making the playoffs this year. DJ's probably fired by the end of February. So another bad loss to a team in Colorado. I know they're the Cup champions, but if you believe it, they are not in the playoffs as of today. So what do the Senators got to do here? I know, they're looking to sell kind of thing, but do you think they still have a chance here? And what do they need to do to kind of get it going?
Okay, then now the thing with the Ottawa Senators is it seems like it's such a roller coaster with them. It's kind of hard to get a grip on them. But I'll tell you one thing. I mean, their core looks really scary, man. They're like, and I know you could say this like the last couple years and stuff, but right now though, the Ottawa Senators, they look like they have the brightest future. Now, I'm not looking at the standings as very second, but unless these guys are mathematically out, man, I just believe that they just have so much youth, so much energy that if their goalie catches on fire, that I can just see them sneaking in, Brendan. I don't know what it is, man. I know it's opposite of what you said last week, but I just feel they could sneak in. They just have so much talent, man. And I like to Chuck, and you know what I mean. Stutzel, that guy, man. Is he ever talented? So we'll have to see.
Man, yeah, well, I'm usually so we're called the Battle of Ontario Hockey Podcast. I'm a Leafs fan. Broekey's a Senators fan, so we talk a lot about the Senators, and I usually talk a lot of shit about the Senators. That's mostly just to piss Broekey off. But
Yeah.
their top six is nasty, man. They got Kachuk, Norris, Batherson, Stutzel, DeBrincat, and Giroux. I mean, that top six can almost go up against any top six in the league. I know they're dangerous. They just can't seem to get a save. Well, their goalie actually has been horrible, but they allow too many chances. Their goalies aren't making the timely saves. But if they do get in, I wouldn't want to play them because, man, they got six 35 goal scorers on their team. I mean, they are a dangerous team. I just, for the sake of the show and my own entertainment, I want to see them fail and do horribly. But that's just because one of my buddies, you know how guys are, right? We don't want to
Yeah.
see our buddies happy. We like to chirp them, kind of thing. So I'm hoping the Sens fail. They got to pass, I think, 7 teams to make the playoffs. So Sean, I think they're 9 or 10 points out, but they got to jump 7 teams, which is a hard thing to do, right?
It's an extremely hard thing to do. And sometimes you can go on a really good run and if things are going so well and you're doing your part, it's just that you needed other teams not to do their part, right? So, yeah, that's going to be really tough, man. I didn't know about those 7 teams. I knew the point. I knew it was around that point amount, but I didn't know it was 7 teams. So,
yeah, let me look here. I got it up. Well, I got to find it here. They got to jump Philadelphia, Detroit, Florida, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and then one of the Islanders or Washington to get into the wild card spot. So that's a tough haul for sure. There's no doubt about it. I mean, points wise, it can be done, but I mean, so many 3-point games, especially at the end of the year. It always seems like all the ties and shootouts kind of come the last 20, 25 games, right? So teams play tougher. They don't want to give up points. So it's always a battle when you're in this spot come this point of the year for me.
Yeah, they got to play hard though. They got to end the season hard because you just never ever know.
Yeah, for sure. So, are there any other? So, I'm about to wrap it up here. Are there any other stories you want to touch on before we wrap here, Sean? Anything going on in the NHL or in the sporting world? We had football playoffs. I don't know if you're a football guy, but anything you wanted to touch on before we sign off here?
I mean, for those who saw the last second field goal last night, I mean, I was blessed to see it live, and honestly, man, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Like if you're a sports fan, you gotta love that. You gotta love the 27-point comeback. You gotta love that, Brandon.
Did you see there was one guy that bet when they were up 27-0, someone bet like a $1.4 million on it to win 11,000. They lost. Oh, I'm sure he's got the money that he's not really feeling it, but that would be a kick in the pants. I go the other way, and we give some gambling advice on the show from time to time. I'd almost take the 27-point underdog just to get the odds on it and throw 20 or $50 on it, But hey, each their own kind of thing.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, no, I had to comment on that because it was pretty incredible. It was pretty incredible thing to see.
I loved them going for 2 as well when they got that penalty on the extra point, and when they did, I'm like, if they get this, it's going to be the worst thing to ever happen to San Diego. Like, it's going to be horrible. It was awesome.
Got it, man.
I loved it.
You got it.
I loved it. And as of today, my Buffalo Bills, they advanced, so we're going to the second round in a tight game. I did not like that game. We might not have been doing a podcast. 31? I might have pulled a broke. What's that?
34-31, was it?
Yeah, 34-31, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right on, man.
I might have pulled a Broekey and not come on if they lost, I'll be honest. I would have been a grumpy guy.
I like Buffalo, man. They look really good, buddy. With a quarterback like that, honestly, I think Buffalo could do it, but I really think they can.
I think so too. I mean, I think they're a team that's kind of got Kansas. They may not have their number, but they match up well against Kansas City. Hey, in a shootout, give me Josh Allen. I mean, he's just he's an animal. He can run for touchdowns. He can throw 80 yards down the field. I mean, the Bills are a dangerous team, and they have the momentum on the, they have some momentum and kind of, with the DeMar Hamlin thing going on, right? So a little extra juice maybe for them.
Oh yeah, big time. And then they got that kick return the next game, and even so, if you weren't a believer, like if you were part of their group and you weren't completely convinced, once they had that kick return, buddy, they're all on board. So huge advantage for them. I think they're going to do it.
Yeah, 100% agree. So that's it for the show today, guys. I just want to take a moment to say thanks to Sean the Sheriff McMorrow for joining the podcast today, and the Kings of 4-on-4, April 14th to 16th in Ottawa and the 21st to 23rd in Ottawa. The Sheriff will be there live doing interviews for the star players at the event. And guys, if you want to check out one of the best hockey podcasts in the world, check out the Sheriff podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. In the last couple of weeks, this guy's had on Rick Vive, Luke Sellers, who if you can ever hook me up with Luke's number, I got a bone to pick with him because he knocked Justin Papineau out of the 2000 World Cup. I still hold a grudge for that, but I'll let it slide for now. But check out the Sheriff podcast anywhere you get your podcast, guys. Pay It Forward Sports presents the premier men's hockey tournament of the year, the second annual Kings of 4-on-4 Provincial Championships. Join us April 14th to 16th in Ottawa and April 21st to 23rd in Toronto to win the best prizes anywhere in Canada. The winning team wins a trip to beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Other prizes being given away include a trip for two to the Dominican, a second Las Vegas trip for team captains, team trips to NHL games, and so much more. Help support underprivileged kids and become the Pay It Forward Sports Provincial Champions and the Kings of 4-on-4. For more information on how to register, visit payitforwardsports.ca.